Okay, the diet from Pounds and Inches by Dr. Simeons. The 500-calorie diet is explained on the day of the second injection to those patients who will be preparing their own food, and it is most important that the person who will actually cook is present, the wife, the mother, or the cook, as the case may be. Here in Italy, patients are given the following diet sheet. Breakfast: tea or coffee in any quantity without sugar. Only 1 tablespoon of milk allowed in 24 hours. Saccharin or stevia may be used. Lunch. I know this is written down. I probably don't have to do this, but... Okay, 100 grams of veal, beef, chicken breast, fresh white fish, lobster, crab, or shrimp. All visible fat must be carefully removed before cooking, and the meat must be weighed raw. It must be boiled or grilled without additional fat. Salmon, eel, tuna, herring, dried or pickled fish are not allowed. The chicken breast must be removed from the bird. One type of vegetable only to be chosen from the following: spinach, chard, chicory, beet greens, green salad, tomatoes, celery, fennel, onions, red radishes, cucumbers, asparagus, or cabbage. 1 breadstick or grissino or 1 Melba toast. An apple or a handful of strawberries or 1/2 grapefruit. Dinner, the same 4 choices as lunch. The juice of 1 lemon daily is allowed for all purposes. Salt, pepper, vinegar, mustard powder, garlic, sweet basil, parsley, thyme, marjoram, etc. may be used for seasoning, but no oil, butter, or dressing. Tea, coffee, plain water, or mineral water are the only drinks allowed, but they may be taken in any quantity and at all times. In fact, the patient should drink about 2 liters of these fluids per day. Many patients are afraid to drink so much because they fear that this may make them retain more water. This is a wrong notion, as the body is more inclined to store water when the intake falls below its normal requirements. The fruit or the breadstick may be eaten between meals instead of with lunch or dinner, but not more than the 4 items listed for lunch and dinner may be eaten at 1 meal. No medicines or cosmetics other than lipstick, eyebrow pencil, and powder may be used without special permission. I don't have anything on, so I haven't started the diet either, though. Just haven't got around to it. Every item in the list is gone over carefully, continually stressing the point that no variations other than those listed may be introduced. All things not listed are forbidden, and the patient is assured that nothing permissible has been left out. The 100 grams of meat must be scrupulously weighed raw after all visible fat has been removed. To do this accurately, the patient must have a letter scale, as kitchen scales are not sufficiently accurate, and the butcher should certainly not be relied upon. Those not uncommon patients who feel that even so little food is too much for them can omit anything they wish. There is no objection to breaking up the 2 meals. For instance, having a breadstick and an apple for breakfast or before going to bed, provided they are deducted from the regular meals. Excuse me. The whole daily ration of 2 breadsticks or 2 fruits may not be eaten at the same time, nor can any items saved from the previous day be added on the following day. In the beginning, patients are advised to check every meal against their diet sheet before starting to eat and not to rely on their memory. It is also worth pointing out that any attempt to observe this diet without HCG will lead to trouble in 2 to 3 days. We have had cases in which patients have profoundly flaunted their dieting powers in front of their friends without mentioning the fact that they are also receiving treatment with HCG. They let their friends try the same diet, and when this proves to be a failure, as it necessarily must, the patient starts raking in unmerited kudos for superhuman willpower. It should also be mentioned that 2 small apples weighing as much as 1 large one nevertheless have a higher caloric value and are therefore not allowed, though there is no restriction on the size of 1 apple. Some people do not realize that chicken breast does not mean the breast of any other fowl, nor does it mean a wing or a drumstick. The most tiresome patients are those who start counting calories and then come up with all manner of ingenious variations which they compile from their little books. When one has spent years of wary research trying to make a diet as attractive as possible without jeopardizing the loss of weight, culinary geniuses who are out to improve their unhappy lot are hard to take. Well, we've come a long way since Dr. Simeons' day. So, making up the calories. The diet used in conjunction with HCG must not exceed 500 calories per day, and the way these calories are made up is of utmost importance. For instance, if a patient drops the apple and eats an extra breadstick instead, he will not be getting more calories, but he will not lose weight. There are a number of foods, particularly fruits and vegetables, which have the same or even lower caloric values than those listed as permissible, and yet we find that they interfere with the regular loss of weight under HCG, presumably owing to the nature of their composition. Pimento peppers, okra, artichokes, and pears are examples of this. While this diet works satisfactorily in Italy, certain modifications have to be made in other countries. For instance, American beef has almost double the caloric value of South Italian beef, which is not marbled with fat. This marbling is impossible to remove. In America, therefore, low-grade veal should be used for one meal, and fish, excluding all those species such as herring, mackerel, tuna, salmon, eel, etc., which have a high fat content, and all dried, smoked, or pickled fish. That was in parentheses. Chicken breast, lobster, crawfish, prawns, or shrimp, crab meat, or kidneys for the other meal. Excuse me. Where the Italian breadsticks, where the so-called grissini are not available, one Melba toast may be used instead, though they are psychologically less satisfying. A Melba toast has about the same weight as the very poorest grissini, which is much more to look at and to chew. When local conditions or the feeding habits of the population make changes necessary, it must be borne in mind that the total daily intake must not exceed 500 calories if the best possible results are to be obtained, that the daily ration should contain 200 grams of fat-free protein and a very small amount of starch. Just as the daily dose of HCG is the same in all cases, so the same diet proves to be satisfactory for a small, elderly lady of leisure or a hard-working muscular giant. Under the effect of HCG, the obese body is always able to obtain all the calories it needs from the abnormal fat deposits, regardless of whether it uses up 1,500 or 4,000 calories per day. It must be made very clear to the patient that he is living to a far greater extent on the fat which he is losing than on what he eats. Many patients ask why eggs are not allowed. The contents of 2 good-sized eggs are roughly equivalent to 100 grams of meat, but unfortunately the yolk contains a large amount of fat, which is undesirable. Very occasionally we allow egg, boiled, poached, or raw, to patients who develop an aversion to meat, but in this case they must add the white of 3 eggs to the one they eat whole. In countries where cottage cheese made from skimmed milk is available, 100 grams may occasionally be used instead of the meat, but no other cheeses are allowed. Vegetarians. Strict vegetarians, such as Orthodox Hindus, present a special problem because milk and curds are the only animal protein they will eat. To supply them with sufficient protein of animal origin, they must drink 500 cc's of skimmed milk per day, though part of this ration can be taken as curds. As far as fruit, vegetables, and starch are concerned, their diet is the same as that of non-vegetarians. They cannot be allowed their usual intake of vegetable proteins from leguminous plants such as beans or from wheat or nuts. nor can they have their customary rice. In spite of these severe restrictions, their average loss is about half that of non-vegetarians, presumably owing to the sugar content of the milk. Okay, with that, I'm going to stop and continue the next chapter of faulty dieting. Okay, thanks. See ya.